Can you guys see my screen? Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Why does that keep happening? Holy crap. Whoa. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Oh no. Oh no.
Can you not see?
There we go. No, looks good.
Oh, okay, cool. I guess, did anyone have any like questions or anything that you wanted to go over before we get started on our run through?
No, do you want me to time it, or does someone want to time it?
Oh yeah, that'd be great actually.
Okay, yeah, I can time it.
Oh my god. Okay. Cool. So I'll go ahead and just get started then. Hey Jen, welcome to the first of 4 presentations with our team. My name is Johnny Hickman and I'm the team leader, and I want to introduce you to the rest of the team here. We have John Canis, Alex Fritzler, and Travis Harker. And of course you've met Brad and Blake Walker, Brad Power and Blake Walker previously. So as I mentioned, this is the first of 4 presentations, and today's presentation will be covering the external factors that impact PocoPet and the market that you're entering. So we will be covering the 3 major frameworks that we utilize to define these external forces, such as the PESTLE, which covers the political, environmental, social, technological, environmental, and legal aspects, as well as the Porter's 5 forces, which identify the supplier power, threat of substitutes, buyer power, threat of entrance, and rivalry amongst competitors. Lastly, we will be reviewing the opportunities and threats that PocoPet faces within this market, and we'll wrap up with what's to come next and have 10 minutes for a Q&A. John?
All right, so before we begin, I just wanted to give you a quick overview just to make sure that we're aligned on what our expectations are in this partnership. And here you can see a quick flow checklist of what we're planning to do and what our scope is. And first is just creating a marketing strategy. Based on what we heard from you and our own research, this will be mostly recommendations on to increase social media presence and establish a following prior to the launch. We also want to provide recommendations to PocoPet to become more involved in the pet community on multiple different levels, determine financial milestones and objectives, whether through short-term and long-term as well. And lastly, just create a marketing plan to include different types of marketing scenarios and contingencies that may come up.
Cool. So to give you a quick overview of the market on our findings based on the online Days Mintel, pet owners are focused on providing their pets with their best lives and products as possible. Yet functional features such as pet appropriate and durability remain essential considerations for many pet supply shoppers. The pet market is currently driven by the shared sentiment that pets are members of the family, a sort of humanization. This draws pet owners to products that align with their own personal preferences that offer convenience benefits. Sales of pet supplies rose 15% between 2012 and 2017 to reach more than 11 billion. In 2017, 58% of American households owned at least one pet, and dog owners are more apt to own small to medium dogs. The biggest trend in pet products currently is the premiumization of these products into mainstream channels. And this can be applied to pet supplies that are now available in mass retailers as well as customized products. And that would previously only be carried in boutiques and specialty shops. So to dive in, competitors.
Yeah. So for the competitors, what we did here was, as you can see in the little graph below, it shows the market share of online sales for pet supplies. And going to those websites, we see that there are 3 companies that offer similar products to the PocoPet, as you are already aware. Furry Fido, Alfie Pet, and iPremio. And these are mostly just the zip up sling with the comfortable shoulder strap. And so for Furry Fido, looking at their online and social media presence, Furry Fido has about 3,000 followers on Instagram. Alfie Pet has 9,000, and iPremio doesn't really have much of a social media presence yet. And what's interesting about what they post online, it's mostly just cute dogs and cute animals trying to get multiple people to follow, and rarely do you see photos of the actual product, which I find pretty interesting, but we can look further into that later. Moving forward to a little bit of a bigger scale with PetSmart and Amazon, PocoPet could find themselves in PetSmart and Amazon as well to be sold, but just for now to look at them, they have 1,500 stores in the US, Mexico, Puerto Rico, owning about 43 sales online, as you can see below. And their social media presence is very strong with about 400,000 followers on Instagram and 200 followers on Twitter. And they did have 166 mentions on all social media platforms from March 2017 to 2018. And overall, they were very positive. So they are dominant when it comes to the social media presence for pet supplies.
So to dive in to the political aspect of the pestle, it's important to consider the overall sentiment that people have towards pet carriers. I'm sure we all remember the unfortunate incident that occurred back in March in which a pet died in an overhead compartment. And this sparked controversy across the nation, and it forced businesses to become more cognizant of their pet policies. In addition to this, Senator John Kennedy proposed to legislation the Welfare of Our Furry Friends Act, or WOOF, to ban putting live animals in overhead storage compartments, thus paving the way for other modes of transportation to become more lenient with their policies surrounding carrying pets. Moving on to economics, according to a financial analysis conducted by Smart Asset, the pet industry is essentially recession-proof. Even looking back at the 2008 recession, Americans cut back on spending and tightened their belts. However, spending on pets barely declined. In addition to that, according to the American Pet Products Association, boarding is the most expensive part of pet ownership, where pet owners were spending on average $333 a month on boarding costs from 2015 to 2016. This proves that there is in fact a need for pet owners to be able to carry their pets with them, especially in situations where they didn't expect it. Shifting on to social aspects, this was the most insightful for our overall plan, specifically building brand awareness and understanding the largest market that you'd like to reach out to. According to an analysis conducted on Mintel, 92% of millennial pet owners purchase gifts for their pets, such as toys, clothing, and treats, with more than half, almost 51%, purchasing a gift for their pet at least once a month. Increased services have been growing, such as pet care, transportation, pet hotels, and many others. As you may know, pets are now considered part of the family, but in recent years, that has started to translate to actually treating pets more like people, a trend called humanization. Pet owners are seeking out higher quality foods, accessories, and medical treatments, and this includes bringing your pet with you to appointments or grocery shopping, which is where the PocoPet comes in. Moving on to technology, we understand that the sentiments pet owners have towards their pets is shifting from companion to part of the family. Specifically, there has been recent innovation in sensors such as DigiPet that attach to pet kennels, and they keep track of key metrics and also automatically alert the owner if these factors require action. This could be used as a companion product to the PocoPet, as it would allow pet owners to know the temperature inside the bag, their pet's heart rate, etc. Recent surveys found that 48% of pet owners care about their pet's comfort more than their own when traveling, and the sensor enables carriers to capture a growing market that cares about their pet's well-being. Looking at the environmental aspects, with the growing importance of sustainability and rise of environmentally conscious products on the market, there is an increasing importance of reusable bags. And this is especially true for millennial consumers, as environmentally conscious purchases are becoming more prevalent within this demographic. The main focus being the type of materials used to produce these bags. The two most common types are cotton and non-woven polypropylene, also known as PP, a more durable type of plastic. An average cotton shopping bag would need to be reused 131 times to account for its higher impact on the production side, whereas polypropylene bags need to be reused only 11 times to break even with the conventional plastic. Because the PocoPet fulfills this demand for reusability, it fits within the pathos of consumers today, especially considering the more times the product is reused, the easier it is to break even for the impact of its production. From a legal standpoint, the PocoPet can become more impactful, as there are a growing number of pet owners who obtain fraudulent emotional support animal or service animal credentials, which can be detrimental for actual ESA and or service animal owners. Because there are currently no certification or official registry of legitimate service animals, there's no way to verify whether a dog has undergone rigorous training to become a service animal. And the reasoning behind obtaining these fraudulent credentials is due partially to restrictions from bringing pets into various establishments. And that's where the PocoPet can come in and help lower these instances, providing another option for pet owners without having to obtain these fraudulent credentials.
So now we'll move on to the Porter's 5 forces, which are just the 5 forces that will move an industry. And we'll take a few seconds to look at each of these points. The first one is threat of entry. Looking specifically at smaller pet supply companies, they experience some very strong growth in the private label sales increased about 8%, reaching 1.2 billion in the most recent review. In industry is high, largest operators accounting for about 93% of the sales. The barrier of entry is especially on the online realm, so the threat of entry is a little bit higher. Moving on, and moving away from the wholesalers and distributors and looking more at the manufacturers for the power of supply, the power of the suppliers, Nestle remains the top, owning 14%. Clorox and Church & Dwight Co. each own about 8%. And Spectrum brand suppliers are powerful, and they have credible forward integration. Looking at this forward integration, it could be an opportunity moving forward, as with pet carriers, there's not one company that is just trying to dominate every aspect of that realm. So there isn't too much forward integration, which is good and takes some of the power away from the suppliers. Moving on to the power of the buyer. Buyer power in this industry is very high as well. This is based strictly on the amount of buyers compared to the amount of sellers in this industry, as well as the education of the buyers. They spend more time looking at products and care more about the products that they're buying for their pets. 2 areas that do make the buying power just a little bit less significant is whether or not the products are undifferentiated, and the fact that the PocoPet is a different product, specifically looking at the compactability and being able to condense into a small size. And another factor is buyers don't purchase these products in a large sum. So moving on to the threat of substitutes. First and foremost, with the threat of substitutes, the first is if the switching cost is low and the cost of the substitute is cheaper, then the threat is high. 2 others that come into play here is product quality and performance. And when you substitute product and organization's product are equal and close to it, there is a much higher threat. When we were looking at a survey done for people who are buying pet supplies, what we found was there's a whole checklist of things what people care about the most. And as you can see down there, 54% of purchasers care the most about durability. The next is or I'm sorry, 54% care about whether or not it's appropriate for their pet. Then 49% care about the design or care about that it's durable, and 29% care about the design. I'm gonna have to change that. So these factors also also impact what the consumers care about when they're purchasing the product. And lastly, is just the rivalry amongst existing competitors. High intensity of rivalry means competitors are aggressively targeting each other's markets and aggressively pricing products. And with the sale of pet products rising 15% between 2012 and 2017 to reach about 11 billion, there's a good chance that there'll be some strict rivalry, but looking specifically at different types of product and the wide array of different too much yet in terms of aggressively pricing the products and going after each other's markets and trying to dominate them. And that is it for the 5 forces.
Great. Next, we'll kind of transition into the 4 specific opportunities that we found while conducting our external analysis. So first, we'll focus on figure A and taking a look at the growth in the pet industry. So since 2015, the US pet industry has grown by 16%, with annual sales totaling 72.13 billion in 2018. Additionally, we found a survey conducted by the American Pet Product Association, and that reported that 90% of 1,200 owners surveyed refer to their pets as family. Now, this gives us a rather optimistic outlook, considering how much money consumers are willing to spend on new additions to their families. So next, we'll transition to figure B, which takes a look at pet ownership in 2016. So from this chart, we can convey that 57% of households own a pet. Furthermore, 38% own a dog, 25% own a cat. Additionally, we found that surveys have revealed 57% of millennial households own a dog. Finally, moving on to figure C, we find that animals, we look at the amount of animals that traveled on airlines. So in 2018, this number was 751,000 emotional support animals, and that was a 56% increase from the prior year. Now, the number of service animals increased additionally by 24%, totaling 281,000 animals. It's our feeling now that we're rather optimistic about the future of regulation in the aviation industry due to comments from the Department of Transportation saying they're looking for the right amount of regulation, not over amount of regulation. The final point that we concluded was the idea that the industry is recession-proof. This conclusion was drawn on from analysis of Google search trends that show demand remaining constant during economic slowdowns or time of economic uncertainty.
So rounding out the presentation, these are the 3 main threats that we found while doing our market research. The first one is just the obvious threat of copycat or new entrants to the market, specifically copycat businesses that can produce products that are very similar. It's arguable that this product in particular from PocoPet is easily copied. Jen, you mentioned that you have recently filed a design patent, which will definitely decrease the likelihood that someone is able to copycat the product. But given the continuous growth of the industry and how it rarely declines even when there's economic downturn, just shows that there are probably new entrants to the market all the time. And this type of product is likely in high demand, especially with the rising of pet owners and pet owners with small dogs. So this just poses an obvious threat to not only PocoPet, but other titans of the industry as they continue to produce new products that are similar. Another big threat is shipping costs and timeframes. As PocoPet continues to grow, shipping costs and timeframes will continue to be a big decision that will need to be made. Obviously, there are many ways that you can ship product, especially when manufacturing overseas. You could ship via air or via sea. These both come with their own costs and timeframes associated. And as the business grows, if there is substantial growth, then this the correct method to choose might change. But this could pose a threat just because if you choose a specific route, this can obviously impact time frame and can impact the bottom line. So this does have an ability to threaten the business's success. And the last major threat that we found is just a lack of social media presence. As we've kind of talked about, this present in this current time frame, we've seen that e-commerce is just continuously growing, and especially social media is not only used for people to connect with friends, but it's also used as an information platform and even for people to shop from a lot of times. So we've seen that businesses have been able to take advantage of social media and have been able to not only educate consumers on what their products are, but are also able to offer consumers a really easy way to shop their products and are able to promote their products and really use it as a platform and a really key element in their go-to-market strategy.
All right, and that wraps up our external analysis. So what you can expect for next week's presentation, we will be going over the internal analysis, and we will be utilizing the VRIO framework, which goes over the values of the product and firm, as well as the rarity of the products and services offered, the ability for other companies to imitate, as well as organization. And then we'll also dive into the strengths and weaknesses as part of the internal analysis. And that's all we have. What's our time?
We finished 4 seconds under 20 minutes.
Okay. I mean, there were some gaps in like transitioning slides.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I will most likely talk a lot faster tomorrow. So,
True.
yeah.
Is it? I guess it's already pretty condensed. I'm just looking at Porter's 5 forces.
Yeah, I can narrow that down for sure. I can cut some of that stuff out.
But I know I'm kind of a data guy too, and I think there's a lot of good information there. So I guess I'm not sure what we would take out.
Yeah.
I thought the Porter's 5 forces is one of the best parts, honestly, as far as information goes.
Yeah.
John, I even think that it will probably be smoother tomorrow. Like even just having rehearsed it today, like it'll probably feel a lot smoother tomorrow. But I think that all the information there is good information.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to rehearse it many more times tonight so I can be much more smooth tomorrow. I think, Johnny, you did it on that slide. I added a little bit more to one of the boxes. Do you mind? I don't know how to bring that box behind it down.
Yeah, I just added that from your notes. So
yeah, no, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
No problem. But if you want to make any changes, you can go ahead and do that in the doc. Oh, are you trying to make the box bigger?
The shadow, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
So, Johnny, I'm also wondering if I could potentially present the legal slide. I just I noticed that Travis and I both didn't really speak, and I think it'd be good if we all spoke. She got to hear from all of us. So yeah, you think that'd be cool?
Yeah, that'd be totally fine. The less I have to speak, the better.
Sweet.
I actually would think it would be better to include where is it? The statistic that Brad had for the second opportunity slide in that legal slide. It might just be a little bit more impactful to have the percentage behind that as far as like how many people or how many more emotional support animals there are. If that makes sense.
You're saying add that to the legal slide?
Yeah, just to it would kind of reiterate that.
Yeah, I'll say and later in this something along the lines of this, like later in the presentation, Brad will discuss the overall rise in the amount of emotional support animals traveling on airplanes, and it increased by 56%. Obviously put a little nicer, but definitely get added in there. I'll work on that.
Perfect. Travis, did you want to join in and do one of the slides? Because I have the entire scripts that I wrote out on each of the slides. So if you had one that you wanted to cover, then you can go ahead and grab one.
Yeah, if you're okay with me doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm semi-okay with not doing it because I got insanely sick while I was away at my expo this weekend.
What kind of
hopefully
expo?
It was a Northwest Model Hobby Expo in
cool.
Seattle. So hopefully I'll have a voice at 7:40 tomorrow. Today I did not. It didn't come around until noon. So I'm okay with sitting out. I didn't really contribute too much to this one. I'll just get healthy and be an active participant next week in the VRIO framework.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, luckily there are more presentations, so
Yeah.
there's definitely opportunity.
Okay.
Travis, wasn't SHOT Show last weekend?
What was it?
Wasn't SHOT Show last weekend?
I don't know what SHOT Show is.
Oh, never mind. I thought you were making a joke about where you were.
Oh no, that was legitimate. Where I was at.
Cool. Do we feel the need to practice before, or are we good to just meet up at 7:40?
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially considering that we finished like just at 20 minutes. We'll definitely finish sooner than that on the actual day tomorrow. So I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any key factors or information you feel like was left out or we should add just after listening to it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, separate note. I think the visuals we use, whether they're like pictures or I think the presentation just is very visually pleasing. So I think that's a good side note.
Does look good. I agree.
Because I think it's interesting. I kind of keep getting stuck or have to reevaluate where I'm coming from, just thinking about Jen and her world, right? Her not having access to the resources or information that we necessarily have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely hard because it's hard to relate it back to like what she's looking for just because it is external. So I guess we don't feel too much pressure to relate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with Pestle and the Five Forces, trying to do that for a very small pet carrier startup is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know.
Yeah. A niche within a niche.
Yeah.
So was there a time limit on the presentation, or does it have to be at least a certain length, or?
Well, we have 30 minutes for the meeting, and I figured it would be best to just allot 10 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah.
And it's pretty lengthy. Like we're at how many slides? Like 16. So yeah, I figured it would be the best like way to tackle it to just do 20 minutes and then 10 minutes for Q&A.
That's perfect.
Cool.
A little bit so we could like get the introductions out of the way, not out of the way, but like me, Travis, and Alex just show face beforehand. We don't have to waste time doing that.
For sure.
That's only like 5 minutes before if Ted's in there and Jen's in there as well.
Yeah.
But
will Ted, will the professor be on this as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. God, that's scary. Uh-oh. I'm going to practice way more now.
I'm not going to look at his picture in the bottom of my screen.
I can't. I think you can hide like the people's faces like down at the bottom.
Oh God.
Doing that.
Oh, that's perfect.
And that's what I will be doing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There's gonna permanently block him. You got to be careful.
Right. If he gets notified.
Oh God.
We get
Think about that. Oh crap.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm pretty. So I mean, I will have the slides ready in case he wants one of us to share them. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to share it from his side. So just be ready to just say next slide. You know.
Yeah, and this I'm glad we practiced it because you presenting made me realize that I can't see the notes on the slides.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I need to write out like what I'm actually going to say. I just like bullshitted through this one because I was like, oh, I can't see what I wrote on the slide.
Oh.
So I'm glad that we did this because if he presents, then I'm going to have to like write it actually down so that I know what to say.
Yeah, I had mine on my phone on Google Docs. I wrote it out in a separate doc. So
That's smart.
yeah, because I kind of figured we might not be able to see the speaker notes if he presents it. So just in case, might be good to have that separately.
Yeah. All right, are we good then?
Cool. Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool.
I will just like, oh, John, if you're gonna update the 5 forces slide, let me know when you're done. Just, like text me or email me, and then I'll just comb through it real quick to make sure like all the fonts are in line and everything. And I'll go ahead and submit the PPT to him.
Yeah, it was only the threat of substitute slide, and I already changed that.
Oh, okay.
So it should be good to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, then I'll go ahead and submit that.
Perfect. And then I guess for the next presentation, we'll just be in contact via text or email, just because we won't meet until Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Before that next one.
I started a doc for our next presentation, just so that we can get going. It's probably, I mean, it looks like it's going to be less work than this one, just in terms of like what information we'll have to put into a presentation. But if anyone wants to help out with that, feel free to snag a part of that agenda and we can get the ball rolling.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that, Alex.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Well, then I think we're all set and we'll just meet tomorrow morning.
Cool.
Perfect.
See y'all.
All right. Take
Awesome.
care.
Good
Bye.
night. See you guys soon. Good night.